how would this, say, translate then into an organization which is a manifestation of the social system? A company, if a company were to say, I really want to take these ideas seriously of systems thinking, how would that translate into something practical?
Well, that has been done, and I have worked with people like Margaret Wheatley, for instance, who does this, and we had a series of seminars called self-organization and human systems, or something like that, and you study these principles of organization, and then you say, how is this reflected in our company? Is our company organized around networks? Does it contain networks? Does it contain what organizational theorists now communities of practice, people who interact in network fashion, either formally or informally? Is there a possibility for people to talk about values in the company, to talk about problems, to talk about visions, to communicate across departments and so on? Is there a way to communicate informally? Is there feedback? Is there learning? Is there a climate of experimentation? Is there leadership fostering creativity? All of this has very concrete examples within the management of a company, and there's now literature about that. And as I said before in my book, The Hidden Connections, I have a chapter on this which is called Bringing Life into Organizations, with lots of references of special books about how to apply systems thinking to companies.
Okay. And talking now again about your most recent book, Leonardo, is it a bit of a stretch to say that some of his thinking has relevance for companies, governments today?
It is a bit of a stretch, but not too much. For my taste, it's not too much of a stretch. But I think we need to understand this properly. It's not that managers can learn, scientific concepts from Leonardo, or concepts of management. In fact, Leonardo, this great genius who went further than anybody in his time in so many fields, in geology, in botany, in anatomy, in city planning, in so many fields, there was one area in which he was really not interested in, and he wrote nothing about this, and that's the social sciences. So, social organization, politics, and all that. He had to be concerned with it because the 15th century was a time of political chaos in Italy. Everybody fought against everybody all the time, but he didn't have any allegiance to any rulers. He would work for whatever ruler there was. They respected him as a genius, and he was not interested in social analysis. So in that sense, business people cannot learn from Leonardo, but they can learn from Leonardo in the sense of being inspired to think systemically, because he was really one of the first and one of the most genial systemic thinkers. Understanding a phenomenon for Leonardo always meant to understand how it was related to other phenomena. He constantly looked for patterns in different areas. He would, for instance, compare the flow of blood and the nourishing of the tissues, the way the blood nourishes the tissues. He would compare to the flow of rivers and creeks. He called them the veins of water in the earth, and how water nourishes the growth of plants. He would also compare it to the flow of sap in a tree or in a plant, how it nourishes the various tissues, how the tree draws up water and minerals from the earth. So he always had this systemic thinking, and he talked about it and illustrated it visually in a very beautiful way. So Leonardo had a very strong sense of how things are interconnected in the world, a very strong sense of the earth being alive, a very deep sense of ecology, and I would go as far as to say that he was the first eco-designer, or the first doing biomimicry. For example, he, as is well known, he was obsessed with flying machines and designed several flying machines who embodied very sound aerodynamic principles. The only reason why he couldn't fly with them was that they were too heavy. He didn't have light materials at the time, so the wood and straps and leather and so on he had were too heavy. But the aerodynamic design was of very high quality, and he mimicked nature. He observed birds in flight, and there are some drawings in his notebooks where you cannot tell, and experts cannot tell, whether it's the drawing of the skeleton of a wing of a bird or the drawing of an artificial wing in his machine. So he mimicked nature that closely. And I think he brought, of course, the sense of an artist to that. So he always combined art and science, and he can be a great inspiration, I think, to business people and leaders in our time.
Mm. And have you seen any examples of companies that you think are starting to take systems thinking seriously?
Yes, absolutely, and I've been very impressed by a number of companies. Now, I usually, do not go into companies to work as a consultant. I've done this also, but rarely. So the examples I have are not too many. I've heard about others, but I tell you, I don't want to give you, rumors or second-hand, knowledge that I heard from people, because there's this whole, practice of greenwashing where you can say this is a fabulous company, but if you look closer, they're not. But companies I have worked with are, in this country, Patagonia, which is a company doing outdoor clothing for sports, mountaineering, and so on. And they're very much concerned about sustainability, of using organically grown cotton and of recycling, and the whole management is very much a sustainable systemic management. Another company would be in Italy that I have met recently. They're called Aboca, ABOCA, and they produce medicinal herbs. They are now a very big worldwide company. They have fields in Tuscany where they grow plants and medicinal flowers, and then they produce extracts in a very complex way, and it is totally ecologically. There are no toxics, there's nothing synthetic, and what is impressive is also that their management is very holistic and systemic. Now these are two very different cultures. Patagonia is here in California, Aboca is in Tuscany. Aboca is a family enterprise. It has a founder, and his son is now the managing director. There are 30 family members working in the company. They own practically the whole town, but they are loved by the town. Every year they throw a big party when there's the anniversary of the company. It's very Italian, but it's very admirable. A third example I would give you, or I can give you two examples from Brazil, because I've worked quite a lot in Brazil. One is a cosmetic company called Natura, maybe a little bit like the Body Shop. I don't know what the comparison would be, but Natura in Brazil also has natural products for cosmetics, and they have a very ingenious network of salespeople, of part-time people, mostly women, who sell their products. And again, their management is totally geared towards sustainability and ecological principles. Another one is a company that organizes corporate seminars, executive seminars, a large company in São Paulo in Brazil, and they're called Amana Key. And again, when you go, they have a conference center in São Paulo, and it is totally green architecture, and also their management is very, very systemic, holistic. So those are a few examples, but there are many more. And again, Amory Lovins and Paul Hawken have worked a lot with these companies, and so there are many examples one can find. So but let me add something, and we talked about this before. at present, to be an exemplary company working toward sustainability takes a lot of ingenuity and takes a lot of courage. It is not easy, because sustainability is always a property of a community within a larger context. And so if you don't live in a sustainable environment, it's very hard to be sustainable yourself. And the dramatic change will come once we change our economic system, and especially our tax system, to further sustainability. Then it will be easy to strive for sustainability. Now it's difficult. Just one very simple example. It is much healthier to eat organically grown food than chemically grown food. But organically grown food is more expensive. It shouldn't be. It should be cheaper. Because from the ecological point of view, it uses less energy, less chemicals, no chemicals, it is community intensive and so on. So it should be cheaper, but the economic system is such that it favors the large agribusiness and not the small local farmers. Once this has changed, and it can be changed, then I think sustainability will really take off.